The message that I have for this reading is that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some of these people came into your life because you were their final warning, a mirror. God placed you in their life as mercy, not to be used, but to be recognized. They mistook your grace for weakness, but Spirit keeps receipts. They didn't reject you. They rejected the message carried through you. And now the silence is loud. The blessings have vanished or are preparing to. You were the last chance before collapse. And now, while they spiral, you rise. Steady, sovereign, anointed. Because when God sends you as the warning, he also crowns you as the proof. What do we have at the foundation of the reading? The Fool, card 0 at the foundation of the reading. Now, this Fool card is really representing the Fool's journey, the kind of threshold that we all cross over before we step into alignment with our true north. There's a kind of prophecy that has been spoken over your life. A metaphorical line in the sand was drawn, and individuals were sent into your life as a test to see if they would cross it. You are a kind of divine deliverer of karma without even knowing it. You are a final warning. You are the last stop before an individual's final judgment. And a lot of you are just now beginning to realize that people that have been sent into your life truly hold this kind of energy. Their treatment towards you is what is to dictate their path moving forward. You weren't sent to be loved. You were sent to be the final echo of grace before that judgment fell. But they didn't recognize you because they weren't supposed to keep you. They were supposed to change because of you, but they mistook your presence for permission. They treated your light like a kind of convenience. And when they crossed that line, that metaphorical line in the sand, they thought that there wouldn't be a cost. Now they're learning that losing you wasn't just losing a person, it was losing protection. A lot of you need to understand that you truly were the last good thing that would have stood beside them. You were the door, the exit, the final chance, because they chose ego over evolution, and that door has closed. And this has nothing to do with revenge. This has nothing to do with focusing on what people's karma is going to be. But it's very important that you understand the greater mechanics of the universe and how it's working in your life and your position in all of this. This is about energetic law. And for those of you wondering why you still feel the echoes, that's just the aftershock of being someone's final warning. You are a soul that serves as a threshold. But you need to understand, a soul that serves as a threshold doesn't just survive the fallout, it ascends. You weren't being tested, you were the test, the final test. And typically, I read the Fool as a very positive kind of card, but I can honestly say that this is the first time in a very long time that I'm reading it the way it sounds, okay? We can see that this person is getting ready to walk off of a cliff, thinking that they're stepping into their new beginning, not realizing that you were their final judgment. What do we have? The sacral, please, Spirit? Wow. Unbelievable. The Tower, Mars, Aries, Scorpio energy at the sacral. The final judgment is exactly right. I was seeing this tower in my mind's eye when I was channeling the message for this Fool card. These individuals are stepping off of this cliff thinking that they are walking into a new beginning, not realizing that they're walking directly into their own tower. I'm also hearing that these individuals think that they got away with a specific treatment towards you, and it may still look that way. I feel that some of these individuals are seemingly looking like they're winning. This is how the universe works. Spirit wants to take these people right to the top of their success and drop them right off the edge of everything that they've built to get to that point for everyone to see. This is going to be very loud, and it's going to be something that echoes through the collective, through your reality, through the people you know. And people are going to begin to understand that what's taking place is a direct result of their treatment towards you. I'm also hearing something about an individual who has cursed themselves in love because of their treatment towards you. No matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, No matter what they look like, no matter how much money they have in their bank account, they have cursed their love life. And now they are starting to realize that it's directly connected to you. You may feel these individuals pulling on your energy. You may feel them, or rather see them, lurking around in your dreams. This is their karma repeating on them. This is that moment that we have all dealt with at some point in time, where you find yourself sitting with the decisions you have made up until that very moment, scanning over your past to see where you may have made some missteps that are the direct result of what is unfolding in your life in this very moment. See, karma is triggered by guilt, and I feel that that's exactly what these individuals are beginning to feel, but it's still not quite where it needs to be because it's a different kind of guilt. It's the kind of guilt that they would never allow to break their own character. In other words, they will never make it known to you what is truly eating away at them because they're too narcissistic to ever admit they were wrong. See, this is the biggest telltale sign of a narcissist. If someone gives you a genuine apology for something that they may have done, they're not a narcissist. Okay, narcissists do not apologize, and they do not express remorse or guilt. But one thing is for certain, and this goes for everybody, they have been given opportunity after opportunity to do the right thing by you. And to this very day, it still hasn't come. And this is why this tower has now landed in their life, or it's preparing to. And this is going to be very loud. It's going to be very destructive. The tower does not give any mercy to those it affects. And this is something that has a wide blast site. Not only does it affect the person, but it affects all of those in their vicinity. The enablers, the cheerleaders, the minions, because let's face it, these kinds of people all have them. You may actually notice some of these people right now being very loud with their success. They think that they have the world in the palm of their hand, and they just might. But pay close attention, because in a lot of cases, this is a very clear indication that Source is working in their life to pull the rug from underneath them when they least expect it. Spirit wants to get them nice and comfy, nice and cozy, wrapped up in a velvet blanket, thinking that they have conquered life. Spirit lets them have a little taste of it. So when it's ripped away from them, the depth that they sink to is as low as it can possibly be. What do we have at the solar plexus, please, Spirit? Too many cards. What do we have at the solar plexus? Seven of Wands, Leo energy in reverse at the solar plexus. So whoever this is, whoever they are, worked overtime to try and make you feel very overwhelmed and give up on your path. This individual, these people caused a lot of disruptions in your life. And again, they thought they got away with it. I just heard this is going to be a 1-2 punch. The rug gets pulled out from underneath them, and at the same time, the scales tip in your favor, and now you are on the top of the wheel. You are moved to the front of the line, so to speak. And not only does this happen in the blink of an eye, it feels as though it has always been that way. Because what this truly represents is a timeline shift, and that everything else that has taken place up until this very moment almost becomes like a fading dream. These individuals are left with nothing but memories of what they used to be or what they could have been. These individuals seemingly had more opportunities than most. Again, this is how it unfolds. Because Spirit wants to see what they do with that, right? You ever notice that? People who seemingly don't deserve what they have are able to access all of these opportunities and blessings. It's almost like you can't make sense of it. Like, how could this be? But if you start to understand how the greater mechanics of the universe works, it makes perfect sense. It's like Spirit saying to them, okay, let's see what you can do here. Here you go. And of course, they fumble it. So then Spirit moves them out of the way and Spirit positions you. However, that shows up in your reality. It's not that you were never deserving of it, but things had to unfold in a way to where they were given the opportunity. And now, as Spirit puts you in that position, there's a clear representation of how each one of you handled this side by side. This can also be likened to God preparing a table for you in front of your enemies. The divine is showing off with you, using you as the greater lesson here. You are the true keeper of the crown, metaphorically speaking. You are the true heir to the throne. And though we speak in metaphor, these are all examples to allow you to understand how the universe allows these situations to unfold. We witness the corrupt nature of these individuals in those positions of power. So there's no mistaking where their corruption ends and your anointing begins. What do we have in the heart, please, Spirit? Ten of Pentacles, right at the heart. Where your anointing begins is right on target. Spirit wants you to stay very focused on your path right now. Don't worry about what's taking place in any of these other people's lives. Yes, it's important for you to understand how the universe is working behind the scenes, which is why this message is coming through. But you mustn't let this distract you from the task that you have been assigned with accomplishing in this life cycle. I also just heard that Spirit is trying to make sure that you maintain motivation, right? You know, when you are on a path like yours that is seeing you working in tandem with the divine, it can become very tiring because you are doing things the right way. You're essentially taking the path that most don't choose to take, right? Which is just another way of saying that you are building things correctly. You're building them in a way that gives it a sense of staying power, right? You're building on a solid foundation with integrity. By the time you actually arrive at your destination, these individuals would have built up a whole life and lost it all, and now here you are, just arriving on the scene. Truly is an energy of selling your soul, right? But this Ten of Pentacles is telling us that this is your divine inheritance. This was promised to you by God, by Source, by the divine, if you follow this path according to plan. If you have the faith to push through, to weather the storms, even when it feels like all hope has been lost. See, this is all a part of preparing you to become the person you need to be in order to be the rightful heir to this spiritual fortune, to this blessing, however that shows up in your life. Now, I speak in energy, so inside this third density, this could just be success showing up in some capacity. After years of hard work, spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, all of a sudden, everything just shifts. Spirit hadn't forgotten about you. Spirit just needed to make sure that you had what it takes. So for all of you who are feeling tired and beat down by your path right now, you need to know that you're going to look out soon and see the horizon line getting closer and closer to you. It will just appear overnight. But you need to have faith. You need to keep pushing. Spirit is leading you through transformation right now. And then right on the bottom of the deck, we have the World. Okay, so there is completion on the horizon, like I was saying. But Nine of Wands, okay, this is following what I'm saying, because the Nine of Wands, this is an energy of persisting forward despite any sort of setbacks. And it also represents a test of faith, right? It's like Spirit is testing your faith right now. And I feel that this situation with this person, these people, is all a part of it. Spirit is showing you firsthand, based on what is unfolding in these individuals' lives, how this actually goes down. It's like Spirit has to get them out of the way first. But there's an order by which this needs to happen. What do we have at the throat, please? Eight of Wands. Okay, so now we're starting to see the energy really picking up here, okay? It feels like one of these situations, again, like I mentioned, where from one day to the next, things just shift. That metaphorical light at the end of the tunnel is right there. It's like you can reach out and grab it. See, this sort of tipping of the scales, the rebalancing, right? Lifting you up and then dropping them back down, right? Another way of speaking about you now being on the top of the wheel or you being brought to the front of the line. This is a slow grinding process. And it's very difficult a lot of times for us to see that this is unfolding. You may see little hints of it, right? You may look on at somebody who caused a lot of pain and suffering in your life and something's a little off there, but seemingly it looks like everything is still relatively stable in their life, right? But it's almost like they're not right in the head. It's almost like they're a little off. I'm hearing that Spirit is going for their mentals and then going for their foundation. So they're completely incapacitated to be able to do anything about it. In other words, Spirit is completely disarming them. What do we have at the third eye, please, Spirit? Ten of Wands. Wow. Just followed what I said. Okay, so it's like here they are. Now everything is falling apart and they don't even know how to put it back together, right? There's also an emphasis here on these individuals feeling what they put you through. Now, it's not always going to look exactly the same. It typically never is. It's just a version of it, right? But I'm also hearing something here about these individuals didn't even realize that Spirit was building them up in order to drop them from the top. Tower energy. And it's interesting because here they are, right? Thinking that, you know, they're on top of the world. And there's that explosion back there. Right there. They're walking into it. See, this really gives that energy of you being the final warning. And they chose their path based on their treatment towards you. And this is also representing them thinking about all of this. Like, how could this happen? Just yesterday, I was on top of the world. What did I do to deserve this? And that right there is a perfect representation of what it looks like when the scales tip. 10 of Pentacles, the wealthiest card in the tarot. That's you now on top of the wheel. And them having squandered this by way of their treatment towards you. And right there, Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so this is really representing the wheel turning now, right? You being on top of the wheel, and then they're showing up as the devil. It's like they're underneath the wheel. It's rolling over them now, right? It's like, here's the divine, here's the underworld, so to speak, and everything is being, well, these are all the receipts, right, that Spirit has kept. Yeah, these individuals thought that they got away with this. It gives, when you see a movie, right, and the evil villain seemingly looks like he won, right? Like he's riding off into the sunset. But then, without warning, balance is restored, almost in the blink of an eye. See, this is how Spirit captures people. Spirit allows them to expose themselves, typically by way of their treatment towards others. I just heard you were the last invitation to transformation before karma stepped in with cold hands. And I just heard they didn't just betray you, they actually spat in the face of a divine reroute. And now they're left wondering, where did I go wrong? It's like they're haunted by this. Now all of those opportunities have dried up, all those doors that they seemingly had access to. Well, they knock, but they've all been deadbolted. There's an absence there now. All the connections they tried to forge just completely fall flat, and they're starting to realize a little bit too late that it may have something to do with you. You were the prophecy. What do we have? The crown, please, Spirit? Wow. 8 of Cups. Some of these people are doubling back. They finally figured it out. After all that, oh yeah, maybe I didn't treat them that great. And you know, in some of these cases, these people had been at this for so long, meaning that you weren't the first, you were the last, right? I'm also hearing something about a number of you out there feel like you're the last stop in individuals' lives before they have major success. I don't think you truly understand what that means, okay? But I'm here to tell you that if that's you, if you feel that way, you have a huge anointing over your life. You were put here for a very specific reason because, again, you were the final warning, okay? Now, you are highly blessed, even though it may not feel that way just yet. But what you have coming towards you, if you just have faith and keep pushing forward in the knowing that you are here for a very specific reason and that everything is unfolding according to plan, things are going to start working in your favor. I'm also hearing that for a lot of you, if not all of you, this is the agreement you signed before you came here. But once you start to truly understand how this works and you get on the other side of perspective is what I'm hearing, right? So just kind of thinking deeper through this situation and what this means and why there's this repeating pattern, you'll start to be able to take control over how this unfolds in the future, and you will be able to extract your own success from it. And typically it comes in the form of you not allowing these situations to knock you down. but rather approach them more like, oh, well, another one bites the dust, right? I guess I was just another final warning. If you can start having more of an approach like that, a bit more of a lighthearted approach, this is going to position you to extract the blessings from these situations. Yes, you are a vessel being used by the divine as this final warning, but this does not mean that you have to sacrifice all of your own blessings to live out your life in this path. There is a way to take control over it. And I feel that it really just comes down to understanding. See, when you begin to understand how this works, you're also less likely to entertain energies that hold this frequency as you make your way down your path. See, you're also learning lessons here because you are building up a better sense of discernment. You're building up your self-confidence, your self-worth. I'm also hearing that a lot of these situations echo childhood traumas, right? Which was another whole message I was getting before the reading, that you're dealing with situations that are almost like repeating patterns from your childhood. We always hear that the universe will repeat things in our life until we heal it, right? And this is exactly one of those situations. A part of your healing is actually experiencing these people come back, right? It's like they come back to this space that they left you in, but you're already gone. This is them now, feeling the pain that you felt. See, karmic cycles rather, are interesting because even though you may be on the receiving end of it, as you heal it, you find that you are positioned in a different perspective. And in some cases, these can be directly connected to past lives, right? You know, we always hear these things about our past life and how we were a villain. And in this life cycle, we're the opposite, right? This really speaks about that. You know, this is really how spiritual evolution works. Okay, what do we have? The foundation, please, Spirit? Two of Swords. Libra energy at the foundation. I feel that what we're getting here with this Two of Swords stacked with this Fool at the foundation is Spirit emphasizing the message that we got towards the beginning of the reading in regards to feeling confused as to why these individuals seemingly look like they're winning, right? But again, all of this is unfolding as a part of their judgment. Spirit is almost using them as kind of guinea pigs to see how they respond, to see how they react to these situations they're put in. If we put them in a situation where they can seemingly, with relative ease, take advantage of our anointed ones, will they take the bait? Or will they act with integrity? In other words, will they sell out for the spoils, for the fame, for the riches, if it means that they have to throw another who did nothing but care for them under the bus? You wouldn't do that because you know better and you have a divine light inside of you that would never sell out another individual for any sort of material gain. But not these people. These people have lost their way. Could be argued that they never knew their way. A lot of cases, these are individuals that you would have never thought could have done something like this. And you're so empathetic that even after all of that, even after everything that they've done, you feel bad for them. You still send them love. You want the divine to have mercy on them. What do we have at the sacral? Five of Swords, Aquarius energy. So this follows what I said here about sending them healing and mercy and all that stuff, right? Because this Five of Swords speaks about you overcoming this past resentment. Because not only are they being put through this level of judgment in their life, but you have to understand that it's for their spiritual evolution. It's a necessary part of getting them back on track. It's like the universe reprimanding them, right? But you're also learning a lesson here as well. You're learning a lesson in forgiveness, in looking at these energies, these people, these situations, lovers, friends, family members, whoever this represents for you, in a way where you perceive them as limited, right? Limited in their thinking, almost like they're children. They're not fully developed yet, but spiritually speaking. When you can learn to look at these situations from this perspective, from this positioning, it can really help you to release a lot of bitterness and resentment, because all it does is create baggage for you on your own path, and you don't need that. In fact, the less attachment you have to these individuals in these situations, the better. Send it love, send it peace, and move on down your path, no matter what they may have put you through. Because feeding it more hate only keeps you connected to these situations. And for some of you, this is challenging. I know, I've been through this before. One of the most difficult things you will ever do is send an individual who put you through complete hell healing. But it will do a lot more for you than should you approach this situation in the opposite way. What do we have at the solar plexus, please? Page of Swords, air energy at the solar plexus. I just heard you have a lot of eyes on you right now, because this major shift that has taken place is not only rebalancing these situations, but it's got people looking back, wondering what you're doing. And what people are starting to notice is that this entire time you have slowly been building something quietly when nobody was paying attention. All of a sudden, boom, here you are. People wondering, how did you do all that? See, this is how these situations unfold. It's always the same. It's a story as old as time. While you're building quietly and healing over there in hermit mode, or just out of the spotlight, so to speak, Spirit's healing you and working with you and helping you work through that trauma and fixing you back up and preparing you for your new life. These individuals are on the opposite end of the spectrum, living life in the fast lane, preparing to crash out. Perfect. Because now, as they're crashing out, sitting with themselves and all the decisions they've made up until this very moment, Spirit pulls you out of the shadows. A perfect example of how it's truly done. An example of a way you can build with integrity, with spirit, with humanity, with longevity, which makes all of this make sense. Building them up only to break them down, while you are the secret weapon, healing in the shadows, preparing to be brought out into the light, which is when God prepares that table for you in front of these other individuals, which positioned themselves as your enemies. You didn't want any of this. They gave themselves that label. And I'm also hearing that they gave themselves that label literally, right? It's like they were laughing about this. It's like individuals speaking about their evil actions toward you, but in an almost, it's like they brag about it. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. They brag about how evil they are because they don't think that there's any chance in hell that they will ever be caught. Ace of Cups, red in its negative polarity, at the heart. It says right there, neglecting duties. And immediately I thought about how these individuals have neglected their duty as a loving human being in your life. I just heard brother, sister, mother, father, ex, friend, whoever it is. Goes back to what I said about the final warning, right? You were put on their path for a very specific reason. These were families you were born into. You were sent because you were the one that was going to decide which direction they moved toward from that point forward. You being the point forward. They neglected you. They neglected your presence in their life. What I said about they didn't just betray you, they spat in the face of the divine. See, this is what they're starting to realize now. And see, Spirit will give them flashes of this. All of a sudden, you'll start popping up in their dreams. They can't get you out of their head, which leads them to this. Well, maybe if I go back. And see, what's interesting here is we have that individual back there, which is you, right? You're on your way, right? And you're wearing that red cloak. And then right here, very similar energy, but this was showing up as them. But I feel now Spirit has done a bait and switch in the last minute. You're having the new beginning now. See, Spirit put them in that position to make them feel like they were stepping into this whole new world, only to walk them off the edge of that cliff. But you You're a completely different story. I'm reading you on the positive side of this Fool card, which is the new beginning. The negative side being these individuals being reckless, foolish, careless with you. And then we have the Six of Pentacles right underneath that Ten of Pentacles. So there's a lot of wealth and abundance that is showing up here. See, it's this situation as well that is allowing you to access your divine blessings, which is interesting, right? It's like you had to go through all of this. Spirit had to use you as that divine vessel of judgment for you to be able to access your blessings on your path. Just like a mission. All right, we're going to send you down there into this life cycle. It's going to be real hard. You're going to be put through some really trying situations. You're going to feel completely hopeless, like you want to give up. But you just got to keep pushing forward. Because once you get through this situation, we're going to be able to supply you with what you need to finally start living out your purpose and your dreams inside this life cycle. They're all connected. You know, a lot of the times, individuals are put through these situations because it's in direct alignment with what they're meant to do here, right? With their purpose. Maybe you become a kind of advocate of truth and how these things unfold. There's just no telling. But the most important thing is just always holding on to faith in the knowing that you're living your life the best you know how in accordance with the divine's will for your life. And that doesn't mean that things are going to look easy and there's going to be a smooth path. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You're taking the road less traveled, right? It's bumpy. Road may not even be paved. Maybe going over some rough terrain, barely making it around the ridge of a mountain, right? Having to trek through a blazing hot desert with no water. And then all the while, there's the other path, which is perfectly smooth. It's cool. There's lemonade stands there, you know, people partying, having a good time, some bars, some strip clubs maybe, you know, all the things that want to tempt you to leave your divinity behind, right? Some riches, some nice cars, houses, all that stuff. That's the path that they chose. But see, that's just a little strip, right? It's like a strip mall. It's fleeting. Doesn't last long. What do we have at the throat, please? Wow. The Tower again, twice. I'm not surprised given how destructive this energy is. It says right here, disruption, warns of disasters, aids in transformation. So I feel that this is you getting the memo from the divine now, right? You're understanding why everything had to unfold exactly the way it did. You're understanding the greater mechanics of what's been taking place in your life, who you are and what you came here to do. You know, a lot of the times, I'd go as far as saying probably all of the time, you just don't know that you have been selected for this sort of path until you're coming out the other side. Spirit says, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, you are the disruption. You are the final warning. We couldn't tell you beforehand because you would have been confused. You may not have moved in the way that we needed you to. We needed you to seem innocent. We needed you to seem almost unseen. So when all was said and done, in the final hour, we could pull you out of the shadows and place you in the spotlight. Because that moment of shock and awe that comes over all of those who look on at you in that position will also bring with it the revelation, the truth of what has taken place and who you really are. And then right on the bottom of the deck, there's Justice card, okay, and the scales. What do we have at the third eye, Spirit? Eight of Wands again. Okay. So now we are seeing this very swift movement forward in multiple areas of your life, okay? Just like I mentioned earlier on in the reading about waking up from one day to the next, having practically no movement forward for what seems like forever, and then all of a sudden, the horizon line just appears. That light at the end of the tunnel is right there. You can reach out and grab it, okay? And this is when you start to understand what has unfolded here. It's that moment you say, oh, I kind of get it now, right? Now, this is deep. This is profound. But once you start to really compartmentalize how this goes down, you're going to move through your life much differently. You'll never navigate life the same ever again. It's like waking up and realizing that you're a spiritual warrior that was sent here on a mission that you didn't even know about because you forgot, right? Like we all do. But now you're waking up to it. So what are you going to do with all that, right? Are you going to reject it, or are you going to live in that truth and move forward on your path in a power and purpose that will place you firmly on top of a very stable foundation, partnered with the divine, co-creating a whole entire universe for yourself, a reality built on the dreams and visions that you have always had for yourself. Because in this new found sense of self, you realize that all of those dreams, all of those visions are more true than the opposite. Okay, what do we have for the crown to close out the reading, please? Too many cards. What do we have for the crown to close out the reading, please, Spirit? Too many cards. What do we have for the crown, please, Spirit? Oh, perfect. The Magician at the crown to close out the reading. The generous God. Spiritual wisdom and magic. Help one with great works and discover hidden secrets. This literally just followed what I said, because the Magician is all about turning your visions into actual reality, realizing just how much potential, power, and purpose you hold within you. Again, thinking that you were just this person that was forgotten by the universe, that there's nothing special about you, to one day waking up and realizing that in your reality, you were selected, you were handpicked for a very specific mission. And this entire time, this entire karmic cycle was the mission. And now, as the smoke clears and the destruction lines the edges of your past, you move with a presence, with a purpose that has ignited a fire inside of you that you never actually thought possible. But now, here you are, a walking, breathing, divine warrior, living out a human experience, and one of the greatest to ever do it. We all have choices in this life. We are all tested, and we are all taught lessons that are in direct accordance with how we move in our everyday waking life. Most people don't realize that they're being observed, and all is being accounted for. So with this knowledge, with this truth, with this knowing, how are you going to move today in your life? Because hopefully, with the message that we have just delivered here, you will push forward even harder in power and purpose, knowing that your new beginning is a moment away from being within your grasp. All right, this is what I have for all of you. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I am open for personal readings right now. All that information can be found below. And for all of you who have purchased things from my merch store, I'm really grateful. I was overwhelmed with how many orders that we got. So thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, you can find the links down below. And lastly, if this message resonates with you, leave a heart and or a comment down below, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Take care.